Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. While presidents are not directly tied to stock market performance, legislation on Social Security and Medicare could dramatically impact the safety and security of your retirement. Joining me to discuss the impact on retirement as a result of the 2020 election outcome is Taylor Tepper, investing and retirement analyst with Forbes Advisor, a trusted destination for unbiased personal finance advice, news, and reviews dedicated to making smart financial decisions simple. Taylor, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Retirement policy under President Trump has been somewhat muted relative to other initiatives with his administration. Before COVID-19, how confident did Americans feel about retirement, and how have those trends been impacted by the pandemic?
So it's interesting, Trump didn't really highlight retirement security as one of his big initiatives. He said he was going to defend Social Security in the campaign, but didn't really do much about it once he got into office. But the economy really had improved before the coronavirus, swept through the world. So people were feeling more secure about their retirement. If you look at surveys, people were saying they were feeling, it was like about a 10-point increase in terms of people feeling confident in their ability to fund their retirement. At the same time, now that COVID has hit, it has hurt a lot of people's confidence. One really, really smart place said that, the retirement risk that people have right now of not being able to sustain their standard of living in retirement has increased since COVID took over. So, we were sort of going in a good upward trajectory, but now people are feeling a little bit more nervous.
Right. And even before the COVID-19 pandemic, we always hear that the bottom half lower wage earners don't have exposure to the markets, but we're one of the richest countries in the world. So why is America in a retirement savings crisis?
Yeah, like you were saying, we just not enough people save for retirement. So about 50% of people have a retirement savings account, one form or another, and just not enough people are invested. And so one of the initiatives that sort of has bipartisan support is getting more people involved in 401ks. So Oregon has tried something where people auto enroll into 401ks. Employers have to provide it. If they don't have one, it sort of kicks into a government-run plan. The Secure Act that was passed by, signed by Trump and passed by Congress on a bipartisan basis did some things to allow more small businesses to come together and offer 401k plans. So we need more plans being offered, and we need to mandate those workers actually being enrolled in them. And that's how you get more people saving and feeling secure and taking advantage of our vast wealth.
What is President Trump's stance on Social Security, and was there any significant legislation passed on retirement since he took office?
So his stance on Social Security is, it moves around a little bit, and it's easy to sort of look at depending on who you are and pigeonhole a certain way. One of the reasons he was successful in the 2016 primary is he promised that he wasn't going to cut Social Security. He hasn't cut Social Security. There's been no move to do so. Recently, he's talked about, he's made sort of vague comments about cutting the payroll tax, which would impact how Social Security is funded, but there's really been no legislation around that, and there's no formal plan. So as it relates to Social Security, he hasn't done much. So that's good because, Social Security benefits aren't going to be cut, but Social Security, to get on a firmer footing, needs to be reformed in some way before the trust fund runs down in 2035 or so. So something needs to happen. Politicians need to get serious about this, but so far he's sort of kicked the can down the road on that front. The sort of policies that have taken place during the Trump administration have been a little bit smaller and bipartisan nature and have worked around the edges. So like the Secure Act I mentioned before, that did some things to allow people to increase the amount that they can save. It allowed, annuities to be offered. It allowed, small businesses to bandy together to offer plans and lower their costs. So I think should Trump win re-election, you're likely to see those types of things take place. You're likely to see work around, sidecar accounts, those that allows people to save through their employer and take care of short-term, expenses, emergency expenses, while not sort of touching their longer-term savings. So I think you'll see little things like that could have positive effects for some people, but you won't see transformative change if he's elected or reelected.
On the other hand, the Democratic candidate Joe Biden's retirement proposals are among his core campaign issues. How does he stand on the issues?
Right. So Joe Biden would do a lot more to sort of change how Americans save for retirement. So he has some big things, one of which would be to increase Social Security benefits for lower income workers. He would increase benefits for widowers and widowees. He would, to be able to pay for those types of things, he would raise taxes on income above $400,000. Right now, income at that level isn't subject to payroll tax. He would subject it to payroll tax. He would also do some other things that would benefit people's benefit people's retirement security. He would lower Medicare age to 60. You know, a lot of people think they're going to work into their late 60s or early 70s, but they end up having to retire much earlier because of a health issue or a health issue with their spouse, or life happens. And so this would allow people to sort of get medical care at a reasonable price earlier on, which could benefit their long-term retirement security. And he also has some plans around 401ks, the biggest one being implementing automatic enrollment into 401k type plans if a worker's employer doesn't offer one. So that's sort of like the crux of what a Biden administration would try to do around retirement security.
Biden's policy prescriptions sound comprehensive, but they are going to cost a significant amount of money. Can they realistically be achieved considering the unprecedented amount of stimulus that also has to be paid back? And do you think it would achieve bipartisan support?
So yes, it would require a lot of spending, a lot of taxes. It'd be very difficult to do, especially around Social Security. I don't know if, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say whether or not something like this will necessarily happen. I, I think the Social Security aspect is going to be very difficult. And that's going to be something that's going to be a big fight. And a Biden administration will have to prioritize that in whatever sort of mechanisms it does to pass big legislation. So if it is a huge priority for a Biden, for their administration, as opposed to, other things like reforming the Affordable Care Act or raising minimum wage, that sort of remains to be seen. The other things, so putting Social Security and Medicare aside, I do think that a Biden administration could get some bipartisan pickup on auto enrollment in 401ks. I think, it's really nice. It's one of the one issues where you do have some give and take between Democrats and Republicans. Everyone wants to see people save more and have a more secure retirement. So I think when it comes to benefits like that, where more people are getting something and not a whole lot is being given up, that will have some buy-in across the aisle. So that's sort of the lower hanging fruit, which would be a big change. But you're right, the Medicare dropping of age, the Social Security reforms, those are going to require, a huge Democratic landslide in the Senate.
Taylor, I want to throw one more question at you. You had mentioned that the Social Security fund runs out in 2035. So it kind of does make sense if you get bipartisan support with automatic 401k enrollment, because it takes a little bit of the onus off of legislators to figure out how they're going to reform Social Security. Is that really a big part of the reason behind it?
Right. I do think everyone is very focused and worried on Americans being able to replace enough of their income when they retire. And Social Security has been such a core function of how Americans get through the last 30 years of their lives that as we get closer to 2035, you're going to start seeing proposals. I mean, look, you talk to, Democratic policy wonks, you hear the same things that when you talk to Republican policy wonks. It's not a very difficult issue to fix Social Security, right? It's a math thing. Like you either have to increase taxes or you have to reduce benefits. So like it's a manageable math problem, and I think whoever has power when that takes place will get to do more of what they want to do. But ultimately, some solution will come into being because no one will abide a steep cut of I think it's about 25% when the trust fund sort of runs dry. But yes, but Social Security is just like one layer of people's retirement income. Another layer is through their personal savings, and to get people to save, they actually need to save. A lot of people right now, because of behavioral quirks, don't, and so by passing legislation that will require people and employers to sign up for plans will do a lot to alleviate people's, retirement insecurity.
All right, Taylor, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Oh my gosh, it was my pleasure.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.